What's up, everybody, and welcome to Stoniecast number 75 and season 3, episode 8 of Thoughts and Hunches, making money in bunches and sucker punches. It's your boy Stony back for the 75th time, and I'd like to welcome all of my fellow hoodlums, cheats, lowlifes, hustlers, scumbags, altar boys with unhealthy relationships with their priests, foul-mouthed raging alcoholics, fienders, and degenerates. Yeah. If you're new to the show, you're probably one of what I just said. Welcome. And make sure to hit the subscribe button down here in the lower right-hand corner so you can be notified every time I put out a new video. It's usually on Friday evening. Last week was a battle for us. What can I say? To say the least, right? We never found a groove. We never got on a roll, and we stumbled to a dispirited 18, 20, and 2. Out of the first 7 weeks, that's only my second losing week of the year. And let's face it, if you're going to have a losing week, 2 games under 500 is exactly the kind of losing week to have. So we're not really crying in any spilt milk. Since we never have 2 bad weeks in a row, now's the time to bounce back and hit them hard. Here are the numbers from last week. 8 NCAA football last week, 7-9-1. 70 that makes us 75, 40, and 2 on the season, dropping our percentage. I mean, the percentage has nowhere to go but down after the ungodly start we had. We're still 65.22% on the season for NCAA football. NFL last week, 7-9-1. Not good at all. 40, 35, and 3 overall in the NFL so far. That's good for 53.33%. And that's the reason why our numbers are struggling. We got to get going in the NFL. MLB playoffs saved us last week from a really, really bad week. 5-2 last week, right? Including 3-1 in the picking the winners of the series, of the wild card series, right? And the wild card games that I picked last Saturday. So not too bad. 5-2, 71.43%, right? So overall now on the season, with everything added all up, 119 wins, 77 losses, 5 pushes. That's 60.71%. Still top notch. Anything above 57 is considered great. Right now, we're still in the 60s. And I mean, let's face it, we're already 1-0 this week. As last week, I gave you Washington over Chicago on last night's Thursday night snoozer. It wasn't easy, right? It was very ugly, but it cashed. So we're ready to go big this week. So we'll kick off week 7 in the Big 12 at noon Eastern. 19th ranked and 5-1 Kansas heads to Norman to take on 3-3 Oklahoma as 8.5-point dogs. Yeah, I said that right. KU suffered its first loss last week at home to TCU, but they lost starting quarterback Jalon Daniels, right? He's been a stud. The last time the Jayhawks beat Oklahoma was in 1997, a total of 17 straight L's. With Daniels, this might be their best time now that OU has dropped 3 straight for the first time since 98. But the Sooners are getting quarterback Dylan Gabriel back, and yeah, they've been a disaster lately, and somehow we're going to roll with them for the 3rd straight week. Not sure why, but in Norman, we got to take the Sooners. Moving to the Big 10 at noon Eastern, 4-1 Minnesota travels to Champaign as 6.5-point favorites to take on 24th ranked and 5-1 Illinois. The Illini have ripped off 4 straight to get a number next to their names for the first time under Brett Bielema, who's done a fantastic job in Champaign. But upon closer consideration, their most impressive wins, which happen to be their last 2, were in Madtown against a Wisconsin squad that's just awful, and last week's home win over Iowa, in which neither team scored a touchdown. The Golden Gophers come in off a bye week after shitting all over themselves in a home loss to Purdue 2 weeks ago. The week off was just what Minnesota needed, and I expect them to handle Illinois fairly easily here, even if it is on the road. Staying in the Big Ten at noon Eastern, we got a big one. Top 10 matchup as 10th ranked and 5-0 Penn State heads into the Big House to challenge the 7-point favorite and 5th ranked Wolverines of Michigan. After reaching the CFP playoffs last year, expectations were high for Jim Harbaugh in Ann Arbor this year. And Michigan's delivered. I mean, let's face it, even if it took Harbaugh a few weeks to figure that J.J. McCarthy is the real deal as his QB1. Coming off a 31-10 win over Indiana, who isn't very good, but had the Wolverines handcuffed to a 10-10 tie at halftime, Michigan pulled away late, but will need a full 4 quarters this time against a hungry pack of Lions. I mean, Penn State's only truly impressive win was back in week 1 when they knocked off Purdue. 4 easy wins have followed, but this is clearly their biggest test, and while Michigan is still the better squad and will get the win, but not the cover. I'll take Penn State catching a touchdown on the road here, definitely. RBI double for Bryce Harper. Best player in Major League Baseball, period. I've been saying it for 5 years, and he just continues. He's also, it's hard because 2 of my favorite players are playing in this game right now. Let me tell you something real quick. Bryce Harper, Ronald Acuna, and Manny Machado, right? Those are my guys. Love them, all 3 of them, right? Don't have to be a Giants honk to love all Giants. These guys can play, and Harper, the bigger the stage, he always delivers. Manny, same way. Acuna's getting there. Acuna's younger than those guys. It's just scary. But anyway, Bryce Harper, Jesus. Okay, we'll get back to that. Penn State, take them. Catching the touchdown on the road. What are you going to do? Saturdays in the South with the 3 Fs. Family, faith, and football. Starts at noon Eastern as 3-3 Auburn heads a few hours west as 14.5-point dogs to Oxford to take on 6-0 and 9th-ranked Ole Miss. Auburn is somehow 3-3, but they should be 1-5. They've been blown out by Georgia and Penn State. Okay, no big deal. And they somehow lost to a pathetic LSU squad and Brian Kelly's family. Now they head to the Grove to take on a red-hot Rebel team that had a couple of close calls before stepping on the gas and pounding Vanderbilt in Nashville last week. Lane Kiffin has found a hell of a quarterback in Jackson Dart, who's a true leader of the offense, doesn't turn the ball over. This one can and will get ugly. A lot of people like Auburn just because of name recognition and plus all those points, but I'm going to roll with the Rebs and lay the lumber here. Heading back to the Big 12 at noon Eastern, 4-2 and 22nd ranked Texas is a big 16.5-point favorite to 3-3 Iowa State. Steve Sarkisian has Texas playing well, as their only 2 losses came by a point to Alabama and a field goal to Texas Tech. An easy win over West Virginia preceded last week's Red River blowout of Oklahoma. Tomorrow they take on an Iowa State squad that have lost 3 straight, though they all were by 1 score. Somehow the Cyclones always seem to come in under the number, especially when Matt Campbell's getting points, though. And I think they will again here as Texas wins big, but not by more than 17. The ACC has an intriguing matchup of 2 teams that are both slumping. At 12:30 Eastern, the 2-3 Hurricanes of Miami head north as 7-point road chalk to take on the 2-4 Hokies of Virginia Tech in Blacksburg. Va-Tech is a complete disaster right now. After starting 2-1, they've now dropped 3 straight, and none of those games have even been close. The Canes have also dropped 3 in a row after starting 2-0. South Florida. Hey, Donnie, sorry. But even with last week's loss in North Carolina, there was a lot to like with the Canes. Yeah, it's a whole touchdown, and it's on the road, and nobody trusts the Canes right now, but they're clearly the logical play here, so go ahead and lay them, because nobody trusts Va-Tech. Staying in the ACC, though, this time we have 2 ranked squads as 3.5-point favorite, 18th ranked and 5-0 Syracuse host 15th ranked and 5-1 NC State. The conference's top 2 defenses will be on full display here And following a bye week, Syracuse coach Dino Babers has his boys ready to snap their 3-game losing streak to NC State. The Wolfpack are 13-2 all-time versus Syracuse, and it looks like banged-up quarterback Devin Leary will give it a go tomorrow, which only helps NC State. I love me some Dino, and he's a hell of a coach, but his undefeated season ends tomorrow with an outright win by the Wolfpack. Can someone say money line? At 3:30 Eastern, the SEC gives us the biggest matchup of the week as third-ranked Alabama brings their 6-0 mark north to Knoxville as 9-point road chalk to take on red-hot 6th-ranked Tennessee. After surviving their second very close upset bid last week at home to Texas A&M, where they had the ball on the 3-yard line and a chance to win it, knocked Bama from the top spot in the rankings. They're hoping tomorrow will be just like the last time they got knocked out of the top spot in the polls. A very close call to Texas last month was followed by 3 straight blowouts in which the Tide rolled up 167 points. None of those schools, though, had the firepower that 5-0 Tennessee has. Bama's won 15 straight over UT, dating to the year before Nick Saban took over the reins in Tuscaloosa. The Vols have wins over 3 ranked opponents already this year, though last week's complete pounding of LSU shouldn't count because LSU should never have been ranked. I mean, let's face it. The crowd at Neyland Stadium, right? Oh, man. And Hendon Hooker's dual threat action as UT's signal caller will be the difference here. If there was ever a chance for the Vols to pull off the upset, this is it. The line opened up at 6.5 on Monday, and the Sharps have pounded Bama all the way up to 9. While an upset may not happen, we'll still take the Vols at home catching 9. Another good 3:30 Eastern matchup heads back to the Big 12 as 8th-ranked and 5-0 Oklahoma State are 3.5-point dogs on the road in Fort Worth against 13th-ranked and 5-0 TCU. Sonny Dykes' first season as skipper of the Horned Frogs, he's found a hell of a quarterback in Max Duggan. Or is it Dugan? I've always called him Duggan. Who leads a potent offense that is racking up 46 points per game. Okie State, however, comes in with Spencer Sanders under center, whose offense is tied with TCU at the top of the Big 12, also scoring 46 a game. The Cowboys already have a road win over a ranked Texas school when they knocked off Baylor 2 weeks ago. This one's going to be a good one, and I love the road dog here, also on the money line. Also at 3:30 Eastern, we got an intriguing non-conference matchup as 3-3 Arkansas travels to Provo and is a 1-point road underdog against 4-2 BYU. Arkansas has obviously started the tough part of their SEC schedule, and after 3 state losses to Mississippi State, Bama, and A&M, the Hogs are hoping their SEC losses have prepped them for a tangle with a very good BYU school. You just got to love Kalani Sitake at BYU. I mean, how can you not? With a schedule like this that includes Baylor, Oregon, Notre Dame last week, and now Arkansas, the Cougars have no problem scheduling tough opponents. Looking uninspired for 3 quarters last week, BYU turned it on late, but still couldn't overtake the Irish down in Jerry World. So while both schools look to get back in the win column, I like the home cooking of Provo to push BYU to a solid win. Back to the SEC at 7 Eastern, 4-2 LSU heads to Gainesville, where 4-2 Baylor awaits as 2.5-point favorites. LSU has won 4 straight somehow, or had won 4 straight somehow, against 3 high school teams that Brian Kelly and his family scheduled, and a banged-up Mississippi State squad before getting exposed for the frauds they are by getting absolutely boat raced at home last week by UT. Tennessee. But they failed to cover in 2 straight now, reducing the number of messages that I'm going to get from Mississippi, and that's always a good thing. Now they head to the Swamp, where the Gators, whose only loss in their last 4 was a squeaker in Knoxville. Florida will be up early and will roll to an easy win and cover as the Chinese Bandits lose again. 4th-ranked and 6-0 Clemson travels to Tallahassee as 3.5-point road favorites against a 4-2 Florida State at 7:30 Eastern. Sometimes a trap is a trap. 4.5 for Clemson. FSU has dropped 2 straight, blowing leads in both. If it looks like a trap, it probably is. You ain't gonna sucker me, odds makers. No way. Give me the Noles and the points. We get a very good matchup at 7:30 Eastern in Lexington as red-hot 16th-ranked Mississippi State brings their 5-1 record on the road against 22nd-ranked and 4-2 Kentucky. The Wildcats were in the top 10 2 weeks ago, but with quarterback Will Levis in a walking boot, their offense struggled again in last week's home loss to a bad South Carolina team. Levis is going to give it a go this week, and even if he goes, he won't be in condition to keep up with the Bulldogs' high octane offense that should be 6-0, but for their inexcusable loss to a shitty-ass LSU squad. Yeah, this could be a look-ahead game as a road trip to Tuscaloosa next week awaits Mike Leach's crew. But no chance for looking ahead today. State wins going away. Moving over to the Pac-12 at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7th ranked and 6-0 USC is 3.5-point dogs in Salt Lake Stony against 20th ranked and 4-2 Utah. SC hasn't looked as dominant the last few weeks, and their win over Washington State last week was a lot closer than the scoreboard suggested. Utah was picked by many to win the Pac-12, but lost at Florida their opener, and last week in Pasadena to a very good and improving UCLA squad. You know what's not in there? A home loss. It won't happen tomorrow either. Give me the Utes at home at Rice-Eccles. Staying in the Pac-12 at 9 o'clock Eastern, 4-2 Washington State goes to Corvallis, where 4-2 Oregon State awaits as 3.5-point favorites. Both teams have lost 2 out of 3, and Oregon State, though they won last week, struggled over a really bad Stanford squad, costing us. As good as the Beavers have been in Corvallis, with only a 3-point loss to USC last month as their only blemish in the last 2 years, Washington State looks a lot more complete than OSU. I'll take the Cougs catching the hook on the road, and that hook is huge. Last week we dropped the Degenerate Special for only the second time this season, so it's time to get back on track with a really shitty matchup in Honolulu as the 1-5 Rainbow Warriors host 2-4 Nevada. The Wolfpack are 6.5-point favorites and have dropped 4 straight because they're shitty. And while Hawaii has dropped 4 out of 5, they've been competitive in 3 of them. As bad as Hawaii is, I just don't see Nevada winning this one by a touchdown. So give me the home dog on the late night to close out the week. And let's hope we don't need it. Moving on to NFL action at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Sunday, Cleveland is 2.5-point favorites in matchup with New England in a battle of 2 and 3 squads. After last week's impressive home blowout win over the Lions, the Pats have to go on the road where they've struggled. Cleveland has their issues, but running the ball isn't one of them. I like the Brownies at home to run well enough to allow Jacoby Brissett to throw it. Home favorite here. Phillies, 9-1 Phillies. 9-1 Phillies. Cruising. At 1 p.m. Eastern Time in a game that your boy will be in attendance for in Atlanta, 5.5-point favorite San Francisco takes on the 2-3 Falcons. Hang on, there we go. Takes on 2-3 Falcons. Yeah, we all saw the questionable roughing the passer with Tom Brady last week that probably cost Atlanta, and the Falcons have battled every team this year, meaning it ain't going to be a picnic for the 49ers. Jimmy G didn't turn the ball over last week, and thus the Niners rolled at Carolina. But can they do it 2 weeks in a row? Yes, I'm heading to Hot Town tomorrow, and we'll be at Mercedes-Benz Stadium on Sunday to watch the Niners win and cover on the road, because while their defense may be mounting injuries, they're still going to stifle the Falcons. Also at 1 Eastern, the surprising 3-2 Jets travel to Lambeau Field to take on the 3-2 Packers as 7.5-point dogs. The Jets have been nice so far. And though they won 2 straight, wins over Chicago and a decimated Miami squad on their third-string quarterback doesn't exactly raise the confidence level. Neither does the Packers' 2-3 record against the number and a loss in London last week to the Giants. Home cooking is what the Pack needs right now. While I don't like the Pack at all this year, and especially Aaron Rodgers, I'm still going to back them here and lay the big number. Still, haven't even exactly decided why. Real quick, I want to give a shout out to California folks. All my California people that are subscribing and watching this, it's voting season. It's time to get out there and vote. Yes on Props 26 and 27. That's what y'all need, especially for you altar boys with questionable relationships with your former priests. This will legalize gambling in California, legalize sports wagering in California. So, yes on both those. All right, make sure you get after it. 1 Eastern time, we'll see an AFC South matchup as 2-2 Houston hosts 2-3 Jacksonville. The Jags shut out Indy in Duval County last month, but today will be different. Jayville was physically beaten up at home last week to Houston, and now the prospect of facing a Colts squad out for revenge doesn't seem that appetizing. Indy's getting healthy, and while I'm convinced Matt Ryan is through, he and the Colts defense will be enough to get the win and the cover as a short 2-point home favorite. Yes, this is the lock of the week right here. Indy, roll with them. At 1 Eastern, we have 4-1 Minnesota traveling to 3-2 Miami as 3.5-point chalk. Tua and Teddy Two Gloves are both, try saying that 5 times fast. Tua and Teddy Two Gloves are both out, so rookie Skylar Thompson from K-State will make his first NFL start against a Viking squad that has won 3 straight but struggles to cover numbers. Miami's been blown out twice in a row, and this has the makings of 3 in a row. Lay them on the road and give me the Vikes. Skol! Staying at 1 Eastern, Cincinnati's a 2-point favorite on the road in the Bayou in a battle of 2 and 3 squads hoping to keep their seasons intact because there's a big difference between 3 and 3 and 2 and 4. Cincy has covered 3 straight, and even though they lost a heartbreaker last Sunday night in Baltimore, and the Saints have covered 2 in a row and appear to have righted the ship after a blowout win over Seattle last week, New Orleans is a different team at home, and I'm going to roll with the Saints and the points in the Big Easy, even though they're all banged up. An intriguing matchup at 1 Eastern has 3-2 Baltimore heading to the Snoopy in Jersey, where the surprising 4-1 New Jersey Giants are 5.5-point dogs. Yeah, the Ravens have flip-flopped wins so far this season. They have a propensity for blowing late leads. I've been burned by the Giants too much this year to not take them at home with the number. Who cares who wins? Home dog, home dog, home dog. In the last 1 p.m. Eastern start, the 3-2 Bucks go to the old ketchup bottle in Pittsburgh to take on the reeling 1-4 Steelers. Tampa's failed to cover 3 straight, but Pittsburgh is a total disaster right now as they break in a rookie quarterback behind a miserable O-line and they can't run the ball. Steelers will not score double digits here. Lay the 8.5 on the road. At 4:05 Eastern Time, the Rams are back in La La Land as 10-point chalk against 1-4 Carolina. The Panthers just fired Matt Rule as head coach and played without a pulse in last week's home blowout loss to San Fran. The Rams are 3-2 and will win this game, but after 2 straight losses exposed them for the frauds they were in winning the Super Bowl last year. It'll continue on Sunday in a win, but a Panthers cover, especially through the back door. All those points. Also at 4:05 Eastern, 2-3 Arizona goes to the Pacific Northwest to take on 2-3 Seattle in an NFC West matchup. Seattle's dropped 3 out of 4 as the injuries continue to pile up. Zona hasn't fared much better and are somehow still 2.5-point road favorites, despite the fact that if it weren't for a Kyler Murray miracle act against the Raiders a couple weeks ago, the Cards would be sitting at 1-4. Zona is way too talented to blow this one, right? Wrong. Give me the Hawks as the home dog. The game of the day is at 4:25 Eastern in Kansas City, as the Chiefs are a dog for only the second time in Patrick Mahomes' career as a starter. The first time as a dog at home under Patrick Mahomes' career as a starter. This time to Buffalo. The 4-1 Chiefs beat the Bills in last year's AFC divisional playoff. Instant classic bullshit, just another game. But this year's Chefs aren't nearly the same. Sure, they hung 41 on Tampa and 30 on the Raiders in their last 2 wins. But can they do that against the Buffalo defense that gets healthier by the week? The Bills squeaked past Baltimore and blasted Pittsburgh as Josh Allen continues to have this offense rolling. And that's where this game's going to be decided. Kansas City's defense will not be able to slow down Buffalo. If the Raiders and Bucks can hang 30 on the Chefs, what do you think Buffalo will do? Yes, get revenge. Take the Bills. Sunday night's a good matchup also. This time, excuse me. Sorry. There we go. Sunday night's matchup is in the NFC East as the 5-0 Eagles host the 4-1 Cowboys, a 6.5-point chalk. Aside from a week 2 win over Minnesota, they haven't beaten anybody at all, Philly. All right? Dallas, on the other hand, is moving the ball behind Cooper Rush in a solid ground game. But the story is Dallas's defense so far, period. Their front four is tenacious, and the back end is only getting better. Jalen Hurts will be running for his life Sunday night, and he may lead this team to a win, but not by a touchdown. It's going to be a good one. Give me the boys and the points. And Monday night, to close out the week, the 3-2 Chargers host the 2-3 Broncos. 2 massive disappointments so far. The Chargers are the most maddening team in the NFL with uneven performances all over the place this season. And now they're 4.5-point chalk on Monday Night Football somehow. The NFL bought into the Russell Wilson charade, hook, line, and sinker, as it seems like every week the Broncos are on primetime somehow. After last Thursday's unwatchable fiasco when Denver lost to Indy at home without scoring a touchdown, how can they be expected to win in La La Land this Monday? They're not. Chargers for the money. So there's all my football plays for the week. And since we're already 1-0, good things are going to continue. But wait, we ain't done yet. There's MLB divisional playoffs also, all right? Now, I know the 4 divisional playoff series began a couple days ago, and some of them are about to finish. But my choices for each series are really kind of boring because I only have one dog winning. I have the Braves minus 200 over Philly, which right now doesn't look so good after Hopkins and Harper just went off today, taking a 2-1 lead. Houston minus 260 over Seattle, which should be fine. Thank you, Yordan Alvarez, for that, by the way. And the Dodgers minus 250 over San Diego. The lone dog here is Cleveland, plus 200 against the Yankees, and the series tied at 1. Yeah, it ain't sexy, but it is what it is. Now, here's some individual games for the weekend. Tonight, there will be time to get down. 8 in about an hour from now. 8:30 Eastern, the Dodgers and Padres meet in San Diego with the series tied at a game apiece. The Dodgers are minus 120 and the Padres are plus 105. Tony Gonsolin has been a machine for La La Land this year, but against a red-hot Pod squad and a ruckus San Diego crowd, I like Blake Snell to go a little deeper than Gonsolin before Dave Roberts ultimately blows it like he always does and goes to a shaky bullpen too early. Padres plus 105. On Saturday at 2 Eastern, the Braves and Phils meet in Game 4 in the City of Brotherly Love. But with Game 3 in the top of the ninth, I mean, it's going to be over in a couple minutes. By the time I finish this, who knows? Maybe there'll be a line posted. There isn't enough time to get a line in for Game 4, so we'll just skip over that one. Also on Saturday, Seattle finally hosts a playoff game in Game 3 versus Houston. The Stros took the first 2 in H-Town and looked to sweep the Mariners out of the playoffs with Lance McCullers Jr. on the bump. Seattle counters with George Kirby as both teams are minus 110. I like the Mariners here to get the win before Justin Verlander slams the door on them Sunday. But in the meantime, Seattle's the play on Saturday, though I do have the Stros winning the series. 1 out in the ninth. Phillies are 2 outs away from making it a 2-1 series over the defending World Series champion Atlanta Braves. The Yankees and the Guard Indians meet in Cleveland for Game 3 at 7:30 Eastern tomorrow. Also, the Yanks will have Luis Severino towing the slab against young star-in-the-making Tristan McKenzie. After blowing Game 2 early today, the Yanks can't afford another L. This time in the land with the Game 4 also Sunday in Cleveland. I believe the Yanks will win Game 4 on Sunday to tie the series and send it back to a tiebreaker in the Boogie Down on Monday. But I don't care if it's in the Boogie Down. I still think Cleveland wins this series. I love McKenzie in this spot in Game 3 to put the Yankees on the brink heading to Sunday. At even money, I'll pounce on the Gardindians. Dodgers and Padres meet in Game 4 tomorrow night as well, but with Game 3 going on right now, with Game 3 starting in about an hour, I can't give you an accurate line, so we'll skip that one as well. So there's all 4 series prices, plus 3 more individual games in the divisional series to round out the week. That's 16 NCAA plays, 13 in the NFL, plus the one we hit last night for 14, and 8 more MLB playoff wagers to cash, right? Time to cash tickets. That's a grand total of 37 plays. As usual, for free. Yes, I don't charge you for them. They're all free. Who else does that and hits it over 63%? I'll tell you who. Nobody but your boy. 22 wins will be acceptable, but the more the merrier. So let's get to the window early and often this week. Finally, next Thursday's NFL lines are out. And it's New Orleans at Arizona in a matchup of 2 squads trying not to let things get out of hand. The Cards are a short favorite of 2.5, and I'm going to take them at home because the Saints away from the Dome aren't the Saints. As usual, if the line drops below 1.5 or above 3.5, this play will be null and void and will not count. But for now, there's your gift to begin next week. Until then, remember, if you're going to win big, you got to bet big. Scared money don't make money. For me, the action is the juice. There's money on the streets that can't be ignored. And finally, good luck to you.